Rick Jarrow. I want to talk to you about the evolution of the anti-career concept, which will be finalized or formalized in a workshop at the Open Center in New York in November, and also about the annual gathering at Ananda Ashram in Monroe, New York. People have asked that you started the whole anti-career concept in the mid-90s. Has anything changed? And the answer is yes. When I initially started this work, creating the work you love, I conceived of it as an individual process. And I think in doing so, kind of helped, unfortunately, feed the illusion that if I just found the right work, everything's going to be all right. And I now understand it much more systematically as part of an ecology of reality that we are participating in. It's not about a personal achievement, but it's about integrating oneself deeply into the fabric of life. That's the wood, the plants, the animals, the air, community, friends, and that includes your work. When I say integration into the fabric of life, that sounds really good. I like it. What does it mean? It's walking deeply in your life, really being where you need to be so that what to do becomes obvious. And in this sense, that flow and that integration is what creates, if you excuse the word, the state of happiness, as opposed to trying to achieve something that's beyond the conditions. So yes, in creating the work you love, we are literally participating in the yoga of work, or karma yoga. And what I call the inner economy is the next evolution of this. It's kind of like the ecological understanding that a butterfly wing here can be related to an earthquake here. In the same way, the way I strain the spaghetti, the way I walk out of my door in the morning, the way I say hello or not to the bus driver, the librarian, the person behind the counter, these have tremendous ramifications. These are all part of the fabric that we're building. And are we building a fabric of community, compassion, elevation, or are we splitting our life into here's my work and here's this and here's the world? So in the sense that people then ask, well, okay, are there guidelines? And what do I need to know? What are the steps I can take to manifest wholeness, to manifest fullness, to manifest the work I love? And everybody and their grandmother out there has the 10 steps to this and the 3 steps to that. So I hate to disappoint you, but no, there cannot be guidelines because every living being is different. Each of us has a different set of karmic circumstances, different proclivities, different talents, different obstacles. And so the path is really unique for everyone. So it's not a question of some program and some rules. It is a question of alignment. And alignment is flowing directly from your integrity. And your integrity is directly flowing from your desire to get hooked up with the absolute, or as our Buddhist brothers call it, the awakening of the bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment. That I am here to live in truth, to be an emissary of the truth, to share the truth, and to be pervaded by the all-pervading abundance of truth and love. And then you work step by step. And I find the best place to start, I'm following Joseph Campbell, actually, who is following James Joyce, who is following. You see, it's never individual. We're all part of this incredible fabric. Nevertheless, Campbell used to speak about what he felt was the difference between like the way of the guru versus the Western way. And Campbell felt in Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, when the knights, they each had to go into the forest through the entryway that they knew the least. So if you want a rule book, I would say once you have your development in abundance, that you're willing to accept yourself and nourish yourself and allow yourself to be who you are. Once you're in that first chakra strength, then it's the willingness to walk into your own shadows, to really walk into the places where you're not comfortable, or to connect to the people who you're not comfortable with. And instead of pushing them out there and making them the enemy, making them the springboard to your widening compassion, widening openness. His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, reminds us constantly that all beings simply want happiness. If we could keep this in mind, all 7 billion humans and gazillion, non-humans who are sharing space together here. It's not about me and my career. It's not about my country. It's not even about my generation. But it's about, and here's where it's very beautiful, it's about awakening to the intersection of your personal life, the historical reality, and the wisdom of the Spirit within you. And what I mean by that are and the last thing I'll speak about, and this is what I'll be doing at Ananda. I've been doing a lot of this lately, reclaiming the consciousness of mandala. Jung popularized the word mandala, got it from the Tibetans, which literally means magic circle. But a lot of the Jungian community, at least their writings, seem to kind of write as if this experience of wholeness and kind of quaternal equality, if you will, is some introspective experience that you have after years of analysis, and it's something inside, even if you draw a picture of it. And this is kind of like years ago when M. Scott Peck was talking about community and how to build community. And that is one of the goals. That's what we do at Ananda. We build a community of intention, men and women, intention to create a world of consciousness, a world of beauty, a world of abundance. Well, what if the mandala is not within you? What if it's not without you? What if it's all you? In other words, that quaternity, that equidistant cross, that intersection of the directions, that crystalline wholeness is not simply something that happens in your inner experience or in your dream. You can live it. When you begin to live it, you begin to experience the wholeness of this entire sphere. And that wholeness does not negate where we come from, nor who we are. So many people today are reminding us to live in the present, and that's beautiful. But it's also become reduced to a cliche. I call it presentism. Because for a lot of people, the present is something that's oblivious of everything else. It's like, the people that change your thoughts and you will change the world. As if you can change your thoughts so easily. As if your thoughts are even your own. Your thoughts are part of a 7 billion person collective. You think you can just walk out of there and create the life that you dream? That's magical thinking. That's infantile thinking. Rather, the cross of the mandala, the inner quaternity of the mandala, the directions, there's a synchronic and the diachronic. The synchronic is the now, the here. The synchronic is the here. The diachronic is where we come from, is the historical continuum. And we just cannot step out of that. In doing the work we love, in creating community, in evolving consciousness in a torn apart world, there's no way to avoid working with the history that you're born in. And the idea is not to create a reified story out of it and believe the story and everyone else is wrong. Rather, it's like working with your obstacles. You connect with, acknowledge what's been given you to work with. Have you been given musical talent? Have you been given an oppressive situation? Have you been given, X, Y, and Z? Some people call it the personal wound. And what can flower out of the wound is how you can heal yourself and others. But I'm seeing it more profoundly, that the wounds are in our culture, and we are part of this culture. And so the work at Ananda and creating the work you love is not just a personal process. It has to do with healing the culture. And as we heal ourselves, we create little spaces where there's a little more room to breathe, a little more room for community, a little more room for joy, a little more room for laughter, a little more room for love. And that gives us more space to create more work that we love. So it's a step-by-step process that we're working with. And the mandala, to end this, is the archetype of wholeness that exists within the very fabric of the earth, the moon, and the stars. And we are part of this. We have a right to be here. We don't have to apologize for who we are. We are not responsible for what happened. We can only be responsible to it. So I invite you to come and work with us at Ananda, at the Open Center, and move into the business of creating healed and healing cultures.